Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily, the first English news program in Poland. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. Poland is looking to garner increased global attention next week as the leaders of the world commemorates the 80th anniversary of the outbreak of the Second World War. The President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, will be hosting approximately 40 leaders all across the world. During the ceremony in Warsaw, speeches will be held by the President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, President of the United States, Donald Trump, and President of Germany, Franz-Walter Steinmeier.
We're expecting 40 delegations to come on the 80th anniversary of the outbreak of the Second World War. It is nearly 250 people from all over the world, including presidents, prime ministers, presidents of parliaments, ministers of foreign affairs and national defense, but also special delegates of European royal families. These are the guests of the Polish President Andrzej Duda. Presidents of Poland, Germany and the United States will give their speeches at the Piłsudski Square in Warsaw. Memory and caution, this will be the slogan of the meeting. These words will appear on a white flag attached to a wreath which will be laid by the three presidents at the tomb of the unknown soldier, located at the Piłsudski Square in Warsaw. These words will also appear on a bell prepared especially for this occasion, which later on will be given as a gift to the city of Wieluń. During the celebration, each head of state will symbolically ring the bell in order to commemorate the victims of the Second World War.
The second edition of the nationwide celebration, Grateful to the Polish Countryside, was held today in the city of Kolno, with the participation of the Polish Minister of Agriculture, Jan Krzysztof Ardanowski, and Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki. During his speech, the Polish PM emphasized the importance of Polish farmers in the countryside. He also added that the Polish state's duty is to support them during hard times. In order to do so, Morawiecki announced a benefit in the amount of 1,000 Polish zlotys for all the farmers who suffered losses over 70% from the drought. He stressed the fact that the ruling party's goal is to make the Polish countryside modern and attractive, and that the government does not want an import of goods from the West. According to the latest social change opinion poll conducted for the Politycy.pl website, the United Right is still comfortably ahead in terms of voters' preference before the upcoming parliamentary elections in Poland. The Conservative Party had a safe advantage over the Civic Platform, which is still predicted to end up second.
According to the survey, Jarosław Kaczyński's party would get around 44.8% of the votes, which is 1% lower than in the last opinion poll. The support for the Civic Platform raised from 24.8% to 25.4%. In terms of other parties, the Democratic Left Alliance polled 7.9% and the Liberal Spring 6.2%. The Polish People's Party in coalition with the Kukiz 15 movement would also surpass the electoral threshold with 6.1%, while the Freedom, Together and Modern parties would have a hard time getting into parliament.
For the past week, internet users might have observed massive coverage on what is known as the Amazonian rainforest fire, which was claimed to have caused devastating environmental damage. The scientists studying the satellite images provided by NASA, however, revealed that the alarming articles were no more than an overreaction to a common and long-existing annual agricultural practice.
The sensational post, now proven to be no more than an overreaction to the common practice of burning farmlands carried out by Brazilian farmers, has gained incredible traction on the internet. Some posts reached 100,000 retweets only days after their publication. The alarming message was so widespread it was even brought to attention during the G7 global meeting. Scientists from the University of Maryland, however, made the observation that the fires were more than likely set by farmers preparing the land for the next year's planting, a common agricultural practice that has been taking place for decades. Several media outlets like the New York Times have caught on to the false alarm and published articles with satellite map images clarifying the situation. Political speculators attribute the creation and the exponential speed in which the falsified story spread to the disdain for the newly democratically elected Brazilian Prime Minister Bolsonaro. The right-wing politician has seen various attacks from the media sphere as well as from the internet, and the most recent hoax could very well be another attempt at lowering his international support. While deforestation remains a long-existing issue in Brazil, and there has been an observable uptick in the amount of man-made fires this year compared to the same month last year, and on average, the information about burning of forest grounds that caused significant uproar across the internet proves to be little more than a false alarm.
That's it for today. See you next time on Poland Daily. But stay tuned for the Poland Daily Weather Report, followed by the Poland Daily Business section.
Welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Let's see the forecast for tonight. Across Poland, sky will be cloudless. More clouds will appear over Rzeszów. In all regions we are expecting a little higher temperature. A pleasant 17 degrees we will see in Gdańsk. In central Poland, temperature will range from 14 degrees to 15 in Warszawa. The coldest place this night will be the northeast with 30 degrees. The pressure will drop. Let's see the forecast for tomorrow. Temperature will increase to 32 degrees in Wrocław. The minimum temperatures will be 26 degrees on the northeast. Thunderstorms is expected in western Poland, but on the rest of the country we may expect very pleasant weather. More sunlight will appear on the north. Let's check the weather for the next days. On Tuesday, more sunlight will appear in central Poland and on the northeast. Temperature will rise to 33 degrees. On Wednesday, rain and storm is expected over the south. In the rest of the country we will see pleasant sunny weather. On Thursday, sunlight will appear across Poland. Temperature will fall. Thank you for watching and see you soon.
Poland Daily Business Edition. September 1st, 2019 is the 80th anniversary of the breakout of the Second World War. We'll hear a lot about that in next few weeks, since there is a huge summit organized in Poland of the countries that then were subjected to this war, among others, or primus inter pares. The principal guest in Poland will be President Donald Trump, which had elevated the level of this celebrations to the highest level in the world. Artur Wróblewski of the Lazarski University is our guest, sir. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
And let us tell a few words about those who were not invited, like President Vladimir Putin.
Or Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. I think it's quite obvious that Mr. Putin, President Putin, should not be invited to Poland to celebrate the memory or to remember about what happened on September 1st, 1939, and remember about people who, our heroes, who were killed defending Poland. Why? Because Russia was part of invading forces on September 17th.
The infamous Ribbentrop-Molotov Treaty
exactly.
Divided Poland to two influence zones, and the armies basically met in the middle of the country.
To some extent, they liberated Poland later on in 1944 and 45, however, bringing death and occupation to Poland, and the artificial government formed in Moscow, which was imposed on Poland. So we have nothing to be grateful to Russians, because we didn't want to be liberated in the first instance. We wanted the conference in Yalta or in Potsdam or in somewhere else to be run differently. We wanted to be part of the Western sphere of influence, not of Russian Soviet influence.
The Poland fighting from the day one of the Second World War with almost 6 million citizens killed, 3 million Jewish, 3 million non-Jewish. The count is really disputable here, but the number is cold and undisputable. And Poland ended up, after the 6 years of struggle, as a subject of the great Soviet Empire, and Western allies washing their hands, saying
exactly.
we cannot do anything.
Part of this as a satellite of the Soviet Union. And of course, Polish heroes from Polish Home Army were very often killed after the war because it did not fit the new concept of Poland.
Vladimir Putin wants to walk away from the first days of the war. He wants to
remember only war starting in 1941, when Russia in June of 1941 or the Soviet Union was attacked. But we cannot just separate one issue from the other. Besides, now we see a new historical narrative in Russia, where Pact Ribbentrop-Molotov is to some extent shown as a kind of very clever move provoked by Poland.
But this is actually old story. There's nothing new.
But now
in
we have
this
a
narrative.
resurrection of this issue. That Pact Ribbentrop-Molotov was to some extent done because Poland was irresponsible, and actually Poland almost provoked the German invasion against us. So we have very strange. Besides, President Putin is responsible for violation of international law by invading Ukraine, for example, earlier invading Georgia. So we cannot tolerate someone who's a revisionist, and besides that is openly violating and disrespecting norms of international
You also
law.
mentioned Benjamin Netanyahu. He would love to show himself in line with Donald Trump, especially on September 17, another memorable date. There will be election in Israel.
Yes, but besides that he has 3 charges of corruption formulated against him, this guy doesn't want how to behave because his people or he himself is very often coming to Poland or talking to Polish people, fundraising. So his fundraising money, he wants to fundraise money for Israel in Poland, and we don't know why. Instead of looking for compensations for the Holocaust in Germany and simply charging Federal Republic of Germany for everything what had been done to the Jewish people in Poland and outside of Poland during the Second World War, he's coming to Poland, and he's asking us to pay compensations for buildings destroyed by the Germans and rebuilt by Poles after the war.
Because there is a history of Benjamin Netanyahu behaving roughly in Poland.
Exactly.
Sorry, sir, but
just go to Ukraine, go to Kiev again, but even in Kiev, his wife didn't want how to behave because she dropped a piece of bread, just violating a sacrosanct tradition in Ukraine that when you get a piece of bread, you eat it instead of dropping down.
Right. And that was then portrayed as done on purpose to turn attention to this visit. Well, nice try.
Oh, yes, I agree with you.
Artur Wróblewski of Lazarski University was our guest tonight. Sir, thank you very much for this conversation. And that was it for Poland Daily Business Tonight.
Welcome back to Poland Daily Weather. Let's look at the forecast for tomorrow. Temperature will increase to 32 degrees in Wrocław. The minimum temperature will be 26 degrees on the northeast. Thunderstorm is expected in western Poland, but on the rest of the country we might expect very pleasant weather. More sunlight will appear on the north. Now let's check the weather for Europe. Alternating rain and sun will dominate in Central Europe, and there we will see about 22 and 28 degrees. In British Islands, temperature will range from 21 to 32 degrees. The highest temperature will be in Athens, 36. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maria Kądzielska, and this is Poland Daily Culture. We have in studio with us one of the most talented young Polish vocalists. Ladies and gentlemen, Marta Zalewska.
Happy to be here.
She sings, plays a guitar and violin, and recently published her debut album. But before we dig up all Marta's music secrets, let's listen to one of her songs.
Tomorrow
like it's never coming. Pray for God, I don't know, and feel shame about it.
Hello, so are you nervous? How many interviews in English have you already given?
Well, actually, just one. I had already given just one, and it was for LA Talk Radio, based in Los Angeles. And there, it was difficult not only because of the language, but also because of the hour. I had to set my alarm in the middle of the night so it could wake me up to give an interview. And also it was through phone, so I couldn't see the host. That was also a bit difficult. But today I'm not nervous, rather excited.
I'm very happy to have you here, especially that listen to your album. And I would like to start with a topic of It Will Be Loud, the program organized by Polish Radio Czwórka, which is targeted for young Polish musicians to give them the chance to find their way on music stage. And you won the second edition, so it's a huge success. But how did you get into this program?
I've been a session musician all my life, I could say. But last year was a breakthrough. I've been composing since I was a child, but I wasn't maybe ready, or I didn't have the courage to share this music with the general public before last year. And last year I've decided that I would like to release my music. And then I found this announcement that Polish Radio was looking for new artists. And I decided to try to get my chances. And what was really interesting about this competition, they required to get accepted, you had to send the whole CD material, the whole album, ready to be released. So it had to be not only recorded, but also mixed and mastered, and ready to
so it's
be on the
difficult.
CD.
How many young Polish, altogether young musicians already have prepared the whole album? It's really high barrel,
Yes,
which they stand.
You have to be prepared what you want to bring to people. And I was lucky that back then I had the material ready, so I sent it, and I've managed to win. So that was surprising and
okay, but not that quickly. There are around 200 participants, and basically I know so many young people who want to be on a Polish musician stage, but they cannot find their way. So what was the process? You sent the album. Do they work with you somehow? Do they give you any hints later? It's a kind of way that you send it and you're waiting, did I win or did I didn't win? Or they talk with you, they listen to you live maybe, they invite you to studio. What is the process?
I have sent the material, and then I've waited and waited and waited, like a few months or so, 2 months, I guess. What's interesting, again, Polish Radio did not tell me anything about changing the material or, getting rid of some tracks, changing them. No, they just accepted as it was, and I'm really glad, because that's not very often situation nowadays with music labels. They always tell you what to do, actually.
Shape you to their own standards.
Yes, and Polish Radio gives freedom, so that's cool.
So I understand that Czwórka is also targeted for young people and targeted for young music which is off stage or not in the mainstream. And I know that Damian Sikorski, who is one of the organizers of this competition, actually listens to all the musics, and he was gobsmacked with your music. But I understand that the competition was so hard that they also recorded later an additional CD for people who they valued but not enough to win. And are your tracks on the CD as well?
Yes, my single opens the album, which is actually the very, very interesting mix of various artists that took part in Będzie Głośno, It Will Be Loud competition.
Do you think that such competitions and such initiatives actually help people, and how it is to get through in Poland, because in comparison to British or even French music stage, Polish young musician stage is a bit humble, and we don't have so many jam sessions, and this environment doesn't invite and doesn't give chance to so many people. It's really hard to get through. We have Daria Zawiało and Podsiadło, so few people who are there, but I mean, it's not enough. We listen to young people from Great Britain, but we don't listen to that many young people from Poland. How do you think we can change it, and how such program changes it?
I'm not sure. Do I know the answer for the very last question, how to change it? But of course, I'm trying myself, making my own music, of course. I think such actions like the competition, the Będzie Głośno, It Will Be Loud competition, it is needed because, as I said, this very competition gives freedom. And we have so many talent shows nowadays here in Poland too. And I was never interested in taking part in such things because I know talent shows got scenarios. It's, so many aspects outside the music, and I'm interested only in music and in truth and in art. Nothing else interests me, so that's why I had to take part in something else than TV talent show. Such radio contests, I think I find them really, really, really attractive because it's only about music. You don't even see me. Of course, later on you can in my video clips. But yes, I think such initiatives are needed, and I'm glad that there's Damian Sikorski, who really gives his life to young artists. That's really fantastic.
So when they accepted your album, did you need to record it once again with them in their studios, or they just took your material and accepted it and said, okay, fine, we will record it ourselves, or we will just reprint it and distribute it? How the process looked like?
They accepted it the way I sent it. It was already recorded at best studios I could afford, and I worked on every detail, hardly. So they accepted the version I gave them. And as I said, it's amazing that I was free. I was free with my music, and nobody told me anything about what to change. They only suggested what could be the first single, the second, but that's fine, and I'm happy to hear any suggestions in that topic. But nobody gave me other compositions or something after I won. So. That's me. The album is totally me.
Great. That's actually, I haven't heard about such a program ever before. But how did it change your life, or did it change your life in any way? That did it open you doors to other things, to other undertakings?
Yes, it did change my life, of course. As said before, that I've been a session musician all my musical life before, and it was really inspiring and influencing me in many ways. Of course, I'm very glad for that experience, but I felt deep in my heart that I want to go there and sing myself and my heart out, tell people about my experience, and just make my own music. So after the album has been released, well, it changed a lot, because now I'm not only a session musician that stands in the second row and supports a great artist in the front. I'm the front myself.
So suddenly people call you and tell you, okay, Marta, come to play and sing for us, or here is an invitation for a concert, or take part in this, or we would like you in our program, or how does it look like? Is it like this really, that you got invitations from music festivals or anything like this?
Yes, I do. Of course, it's a process. I'm not finished in anything, that's the first album. It just already begun. It's just begun. I think there is a lot of work ahead of me, and maybe we'll talk about it later, but I'm preparing the second album. And of course, I'm going to festivals soon, and I've been to Męskie Granie, for example, which is one of the biggest festivals in Poland. That's because I was one of the winners of Męskie Granie Young competition, another great action. So yes, a lot of things is coming, and I'm really looking forward into them.
It's great, and we keep our fingers crossed. And I hope the viewers of Poland Daily also will look up what is Będzie Głośno, It Will Be Loud contest, and maybe some of them would like to participate.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and welcome to another episode of Poland Daily History. Today, we are in the Praga district of Warsaw, in front of a statue of one of the great war heroes of the Polish Bolshevik War, Father Ignacy Skorupka. This statue is located right here, as he served this very church, and it was from here that his unit set out to confront the enemy. In early August of 1920, the Soviet Red Army was closing in on Warsaw. They were only a couple hundred kilometers away from linking arms with the Soviet revolutionary forces of Germany, Austria, and Hungary. Join us as we explore the Polish Bolshevik War, the Battle of Warsaw, and its impact on all of Europe. So as we know, the Polish Bolshevik War started only a few weeks after the end of the First World War. And I was wondering if you can tell me a little bit about the relationship between Poland and Russia during the First World War.
Stosunek Polaków do Rosjan zdeterminowany był stuletnią niewolą.
The attitude of Poles to Russians was determined by the 100-year captivity in which Poles had been stuck since the Congress of Vienna. Two national uprisings, very bloody, caused deep oppression. Hence, most Poles, though not all, opted for the Central Powers and, above all, Austria, whereas in the territory of the Kingdom of Poland and the so-called lands taken, Lithuania, Belarus and part of Ukraine, there was a situation of support for Tsarism in exchange for local government, for restoring the autonomy of these lands. Indeed, two Polish legions have emerged on the Russian side, one of which formed the so-called Puławski Legion and fought with Germany in 1915. In this way, Poland quite symbolically became, or at least the Polish nation, because there was no state, part of the Entente, which was the alliance against Germany. On the German side, Józef Piłsudski and his friends organized three legions that fought in three different places: in the Świętokrzyskie Mountains, the center of Poland, in the Eastern Carpathians, in the Hutzul region, and in Volhynia. And it was in Volhynia, on July 4th, 1916, that the largest battle of the legions was fought, the Battle of Kostuchniówna, in which all the brigades, all forces, about 12,000, took part against the huge offensive of General Brusilov. Against the stubborn defense of the Poles, this offensive collapsed in 1916. The situation will repeat itself in 1920.
Załamała w 16 roku. Sytuacja powtórzy się w roku 20.
So how did the Poles end up in the winning side of the First World War?
Rzeczywiście należy to do majstersztyku polskiej dyplomacji.
It really was a masterpiece of Polish diplomacy. Somehow, the Poles moved to the camp of the Central Powers, to that of the victorious states. Let us remember that when the First World War begins, Poles have unhealed wounds and unresolved political interests with Tsarist Russia. Poles hated Tsarism. This does not mean, however, that Poles would treat the Russian people badly. Quite the opposite. The Russians in Warsaw were quite liked, as evidenced by the Orthodox Church just a few hundred meters from where we are right now. The problem is that after the German expulsion of Tsarist troops from the Polish lands, there was a great evacuation of over 1.5 million people. This involved the Russians living here, about 500,000, as well as Poles working here in various factories, about 1 million people. Poles no longer had any interest in supporting Central States, who were our next petitioners. After the victorious Battle of Kostiuchnówka on July 4, 1916, Piłsudski retains his legions, prohibits them from further participation on the side of the Central Powers, and eventually leads to their liquidation. The Central Powers, earlier delighted with the attitude of Poles, wanted to form a 1 million-man strong Polish army. They are ready to give money and armament, but they are not ready to give political guarantees, like the creation of a state. Admittedly, on November 5, 1916, the German and Austrian emperors, through their two governors, proclaimed the rebirth of the autonomous Kingdom of Poland, that is, in the lands where we are now, but the Poles were not fooled. It was a pseudo-state, completely colonial, where a military group of Austrian troops ruled in the south, for example in Lublin and Radom, and of course in the north Warsaw and Łódź were German. In this situation, Piłsudski went into opposition, and fortunately for him, the Germans let themselves be provoked and arrested him. Piłsudski had such a moment when he considered leaving for the east, and he was already prepared to escape to the Eastern Front, where the Tsarist system ended by the February Revolution, which isn't to be confused with the Bolshevik October Revolution. Tsarism was overthrown, the Russian Republic was formed, with which we could ally, which could grant the Poles the right to independence. Piłsudski refrained, however. He stopped this escape route, returned, and waited to be arrested. He was imprisoned and became a national hero. His legions threw their sabers, laid down their weapons, and went to internment camps, very often along with prisoners of war of Belgium and France. It was during the internment of Polish legions that the most eminent song of the Polish army was born, namely the March of the 1st Brigade. Only then was the song sung, going into captivity. Indeed, the Poles had to sit in this captivity for a year and a half, but it opened the way for a new Polish army to be formed in the west, in Lorraine, on the outskirts of the part of the Alsace, and was still part of France, in Champagne. The Polish army in France, which was commanded by General Haller. Haller had initially stood on the side of Austria. He was a great scout, the organizer of our so-called Christian Falcon teams. He was the commander of the 2nd Brigade. As a commander, he came to the Carpathian Front. There, the Poles already knew these areas, and at the time when Austria betrayed Poland in a treaty with Soviet Russia, but above all with the acid-independent Ukrainian Republic, giving away Polish lands mostly inhabited by Poles under the authorities of the future Ukraine, the Polish village rebelled. They destroyed the Austrian army and switched to the Russian Republic, the Entente. There, our troops fought a second battle with the German troops that encircled them near Kaniów, and General Haller, disguised and under another name, Mazowiecki, broke through to Moscow, and from Moscow the last train reached Murmansk, where the British cruiser took him to Le Havre in France, and he made it on July 14, 1918, to the grandstands of victors when the Entente troops paraded. The Polish army in France, called Haller's army, from that moment also took part in this wonderful ceremony. 100,000 well-armed Poles, a large part came from Canada and the United States, some from Brazil and Argentina, arrived. It was a gigantic gathering of Poles. They took part in the last moments of defeating the Germans in the most decisive, that is in the Second Battle of the Marne on August 18th, the last Kaiser's Germany. The famous Imperial Battle was defeated, after which the Germany actually began to retreat. The Poles from France returned to Poland and joined the Polish army. Well, it actually made up almost half of the Polish army in 1919, when the war with the Bolsheviks began. This is another war. Let us remember that the Bolsheviks declared war on the Poles at the very beginning of their rule, when the Polish state did not yet exist, but Polish military formations existed in Russia, as they had been part of the Tsarist army up until that point. The Belarusian Corps in Belarus, the Polish Corps in Belarus of General Dowbor-Muśnicki, the 2nd Polish Corps in Moldova of General Stankiewicz, and the 3rd Corps in Ukraine of General Henning, and these corps were the germ of the Polish army on the Entente side. The 4th Division was established in Kuban, somewhere at the foot of the Caucasus, the 5th in Siberia, the Siberian Division that almost reached Poland through Vladivostok around the world. The 6th was in Murman, i.e. just below the polar Circle, and the 7th Legion the Poles formed in Finland. This is the history of Poles on the side of the Entente, and in this situation, Poles found out about the ceasefire by November 11th. It should be added that the day before at 12, 11th November at 12, a truce was concluded, and the day before, Poles here in Warsaw caused a small uprising, which prevented a large uprising. The Germans were largely peacefully disarmed, although 146 people were killed in such a spontaneous shooting. Finally, we welcomed a free Europe in free Warsaw.
Ostatecznie w wolnej Warszawie witaliśmy wolną Europę.
The Battle of Warsaw was a decisive point of the Polish-Bolshevik War. It saved Europe from an imminent communist invasion and gave Poland a vital 20 years as an independent state before the outbreak of the Second World War. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. Now see you next time on Poland Daily History.
Welcome to Poland Daily Travel and our second installment of A Touch of Paradise near Warsaw. That's right, the Campinos National Park. If you like paradise near the big city, this is your place. Our ranger guide, Katarzyna Mikrut, makes us feel at home in the park. We'll be finding out some more about the wildlife. We'll take a trip to the cemetery at Palmyra. And we'll take a look at the different kind of ecosystems. Nearly 40,000 hectares of forest. It's a big park, and it's a lot of fun. So come with me and Katarzyna to Campinos National Forest.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. My name is Will. Of course, you know me. But do you remember Katarzyna Mikrut? It's far more important because she is perhaps the greatest ranger in the history of forests. And certainly she knows everything about Campinos, which place I love. And we're really happy to have her with us.
And I'm really happy to have you here.
You're happy to have us here, but the question is why? And the answer is?
Because you may get rest here, you may charge your batteries, you may walk, you may see the history, you may see the nature. Everything is here. And so close to the center. Remember that to come here, it's only some kilometers, less than 1 hour from the city center, and you are here. Mm-hmm. If you like, you may start here in the parking lot. After the short visit in the museum, you may go to see the nature. We're at
Palmyra still. We're on the edge of Palmyra with the museum.
And in the park, we have 10 interpretation trails. Here is one of them, not very long, more or less 1.5 kilometers. And you may do some visit.
So we start over here and we end up on the other side of the museum in the back.
Yes.
And this is about 1.5 kilometers. So it's very short.
It's
a little nature.
short,
we could do that now. Let's jog. You ready? You gonna jog? Are you ready to jog? Now, you said you ride your bicycle, but are you ready to jog?
I prefer ride bicycle.
You prefer to ride the bicycle?
Yes, okay. Or Nordic walking.
Okay. Nordic walking?
Yes, with the sticks.
Oh, with those sticks. You do that?
Yes, I do that, and this is really good sport, and Campinos National Park is perfect for that.
Okay.
Because it's rather flat, there's, the terrain is natural, so it's not asphalt, so you may really
stick the pole into the ground.
Yes, and get the energy to go faster.
And that's why you're using the poles, because you push off on these things? And
yes, and
it really works. Because I usually see people who are about 90 years old using those, which is great, but I thought they need them for stability.
That's true as well, but
obviously
if you are
young
practicing,
and energetic people use them too.
If you are practicing Nordic walking, it's to
strengthen your arms.
Yes, it's most of the muscles are working in that sport, and you don't get harm. any injuries.
Okay, you just get your whole body warmed up and into the process. Okay, well there you go. There's an advertisement for Nordic walking. What do you think of that, folks? Try it at home. No, don't try it at home. Try it outside. Trying it at home wouldn't be any
Try
good.
that in Campinos National Park.
Try it here. Try it here. Listen, when you do come to Warsaw, you got to come to this park. It's right next door. And as Kasia was saying, or I should call her Ranger Kasia, so she didn't throw me in the Huskow, but Huskow means the jail, I think. And she was saying before to me, 17 kilometers from the center, right?
To the headquarters.
To your headquarters. So that really is a short
It's really
bike
short,
ride.
and you may come if you don't have car. You may take public transport, subway, after few stops of bus, and you are in a national park.
So you can go, to the end of the metro, and then there's a bus from there that comes right to the park. You can also take a bus right here to Palmieri, which is really in the heart of the eastern part of the forest. So it's good. Should we go for a walk? Yeah.
Please follow me.
Okay. I mean, after all that talking about walking, but I don't have any poles. So
I don't have neither with
these
me.
Sticks. Should we pretend we have them? No, that would be too much like miming. That would be like miming. It would be horrible. We'd have to be, we'd need Marcel Marceau to help us for that. Okay, so this is the kilometer. This is 1.5 kilometers. This path, is that
Something
right?
around that. And on that path, on all interpretation trails, we have information boards, like the one we stopped before.
Okay.
And each stop tells about different attitudes or different things about the park. It may be about the nature, about some species, some plants, about specific place we are in. So without any guide, you may get some information about the place.
Now, what are we likely to see on this? I mean, this is too close to the center for us to see a moose, probably. Do you think we could see?
You are wrong, because
really, I'm wrong again. I'm getting tired of being right. I tell you. Okay.
We may, if you are lucky.
Yeah.
Moose are coming out, but mostly during the winter. Yes.
Even here.
Yeah. Even here. Be careful. Look around. Maybe there is one somewhere hidden between the trees.
But they're not dangerous, are they?
Rather not. They are not treating people like their enemies. So you may get really close to moose, but not too close. And be careful. If, like a horse, if
ears go back,
run away.
Should you run or just walk fast?
Walk fast.
Don't
because
run, because
it means that it gets angry and may attack. Although they seems to be very, very slow, in fact they are very fast. They are running very fast, and they may bite and kick.
They can bite and kick. That doesn't sound good. Reminds me of my ex-wife. Just kidding. No, that was a bad joke. Okay, anyway.
It's
biting and kicking, not good.
Not good.
No, I don't like that.
It's dangerous, and so it's better to keep some distance between you and wild animal.
Okay, so you keep distance between you and the wild animal, okay. As a ranger, you have to say that. And now we're allowed to, if I have popcorn or some raw meat, I'm allowed to feed them, right?
No.
No, I can't feed them? I'm just testing
No, because they may get sick.
You told me before I'm not allowed to feed them, so I believe you. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to feed them in front of you.
There's enough of food for them in the forest.
Oh, I guess that's why they live in the forest, right? Because that's where the food is. And if I wanted to see, like, let's say we're walking on the nature trail, dum-de-dub-de-dub-dum-dum-dum, just humming a happy tune. What if I saw a wolf? Could I see a wolf?
Yes, but they are really shy, like lynx.
Okay.
So probably they will escape faster than you get to them.
So,
But you may hear them when they are how it's called, this sound, I don't know.
When they're...
when they are singing, let's say.
Oh, well, howling.
Howling, yes.
They don't sing, do
Yeah,
they?
they howl.
They howl.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when they howling...
It sounds like singing in a way. That's what you mean. Yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
We had once the situation, it happens, that one of our foresters, they pretend they gave the sounds like deer. And wolves came.
They made sound like a deer, with a deer call, with a thing?
Yes. No,
with their mouth.
With his mouth.
It's a very talented ranger.
And the wolves came to hunt.
You're kidding me, yeah?
No.
And how many live in the forest again?
We say one troop, so it's a dozen.
A dozen wolves, right?
Yeah.
So if it's 12 wolves, then that's one family, one pack, as you say. But this is also about the right area for them, isn't it? This amount of this park. You wouldn't want necessarily 2 packs of wolves. Is it big enough?
We'll see, because they arrived by themselves.
And maybe
it's
they tell their
naturally.
friends. Yeah.
So I rather
maybe
doubt
they're on
if
wolf vacation.
No, they are.
How long do they live here?
Few years.
Oh, a few years. That's a long vacation. They're probably moving in. So
But
you gotta watch the wolves.
they are breeding. So it means that this forest became their house.
A pleasurable vacation as well. Yeah. And what do they eat, the wolves in the park? Because usually
Deer.
they're eating the deer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of deer here.
Yeah.
So
And
they don't have
hunt-
to eat sheep or something.
No.
Or
we
domestic
we didn't have even one event like that.
They didn't murder any
no.
domestic animals.
No.
Yeah, because there's plenty of deer.
At least we do not know about that.
Well, it reminds me, because in Virginia, for example, or in North Carolina, we have to cull the deer. We have to thin the population of deer because there are too many, right, at certain times of the year. Do you have to do that in the park, or do the wolves help?
In Poland,
et
we
cetera?
also do the reduction of the number of individuals in the population.
Right.
Nowadays, the ecosystems are not that stable, and there are not natural predators, or even if they are, the population is not that strong. Human beings have to interfere. It means people have to shoot some animals.
Okay. So do you think, as we continue along here, oh, by the way, it's Poland Daily Travel, we're walking in the woods. And if you think that walking in the woods is not interesting, then obviously you never walked with Kasia, Ranger Kasia, because she's very interesting. And also, you probably never read that book by Bill Bryson called A Walk in the Woods, which was made into a movie with Robert Redford and Nick Nolte. Yes, that's right. So walking in the woods can be a lot of fun. And I love doing it here. And it's even more fun with a real expert for a change. It's fantastic. Okay, stay with us. Poland Daily Travel. We're going to can we keep walking? Come on. Off we go.